Watching Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. We're kind of a little hectic right now because we just walked right from the adjustment room into the studio to get everything going. So I hope everybody is having a fantastic day. I am. It's been a great day. We've been solid busy this morning since 7 a.m. and actually since 6 a.m. with workout classes. And so it's been a great day at the Rock. Had lots of good adjustments, had lots of good conversations, and we had a pretty good show last night. It took me about half the show to get everything moving in the right direction, but we had a pretty good show. We broke down the Master and His Emissary, Chapter 1. I hope you guys can, if you're interested, you can go back and listen to that and kind of get an idea about what's going on in your brain. I had an awesome opportunity today to go to the Lubbock Women's Club again and speak to a group of ladies, and we had the opportunity to have the same conversation that we basically were having last night on the show about the brain and how it functions, and moving from the right brain to the left brain and getting it all taken care of. So it was a good talk. It was a good talk to talk about that. And one sec. And so I was glad that we were able to go speak to those ladies, and I was glad that we were able to get that book going last night. And I think it took me about half the show, and I think we finally got some good information to you. And we got some good information about why it's important for the right side and the left side of the brain to function properly, why it's important for your health. And so if you want to go back and watch that show, it'd be a good show to watch, maybe the second half of it, but sometimes maybe I'm harder on myself than I ought to be about how it goes. But I did think that we finally got into it a little bit better than we had before. So tonight we're going to talk about the equipment. So on Tuesday, if you want to go back and watch Tuesday's show, we talked about equipment that we use in the office and what we do from the time you start as a new patient, and what the things that we use that would go through the daily activities of adjusting you. And we looked at the activator, we looked at the traction unit, we looked at our first day procedures and our grip test, and why we use our grip test and how all that sort of thing, why we use all that equipment. And tonight, I want to talk about the equipment that we use over in our brain rehab center and in our gym, because some of the stuff it's not common. You don't really understand exactly what we're doing, but there's ways. We talk a lot about the importance of why we want our brains to function properly, because it has to do with our health, right? That's ultimately, I know as a patient, that's what you want. I know as a person, you don't really need me to break it down. You just want your knee to quit hurting, or your back to quit hurting, or your headache to go away, right? Those are the things that you want. You want your energy to come back, or your acid reflux to go away, or whatever the thing is that you're dealing. Your eczema, dealt with that today. Dealt with acid reflux today, dealt with low energy today, dealt with eczema today. And am I treating those things? Absolutely not. I'm not treating them, because that's not what a wellness chiropractor does. What I am doing is trying to detect and correct the interference in the nervous system, what we call a subluxation. And I'm trying to get the nervous system to function the way it's supposed to, because what I really believe is that the body is a self-healing organism, and that if we get the body to function the way it's supposed to, it will heal itself. That's what I really believe. So we got to get the cells in the proper environment so that the cells can express health. That's what we're trying to do. Well, we've talked a lot about that on the show, and we've talked about it over and over and over again. And the big deal is, okay, now that we've established why that's important, and we keep establishing that it's important, what are we going to do about it? How do we solve these problems? And it's like, Doc, thanks a lot. I appreciate you being so thorough and telling us about what it is that's going on with us. But what are we going to do about it now, right? So that's kind of the stuff that we do. So once we determine through our examination our x-rays, our exam, the testing that we do, the right eye test that we do, the reflex app test that we do, the neurological exam that we do, that once we go through that and determine exactly what's going on with the patient, then now we've got a plan that we're going to go forward with to try to resolve the problems that that person's dealing with by getting their body in an environment that's congruent with health. And what we want to do is we want to address movement, we want to address neurology and movement, and we want to address nutrition and exercise. And exercise really fits into that movement phase. So movement can be movement from a segmental standpoint, or movement can be global movement, like I need to go for a walk, right? We can be talking about a specific joint. We can be talking about the way that your skull and your atlas fit together, or the way that your C7 and T1 junction fit together, or how your thoracic spine, the middle of your back is moving. We can be talking about any of those things, your low back, your sacrum, the way your pelvis is. What is sciatica? You know, a lot of people think they use that term because it's kind of a catch-all term. Man, I think I've got sciatica. And it's like, well, let's check on that and see exactly what that is. And do we have the sciatic nerve involved, or are we catching a nerve root that's up above it in the lumbar spine? Those things are important from a movement standpoint. We want to be able to move the spine. We want the spine to move so that it fires the brain properly. And then we want to rehab those things. Now that we're getting them moving, now we want to get you over into the gym and rehab them. And we start off and we use a vibe plate. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the vibe plate. That's one of the things that we use here in the office, just to create extra stimulation into your brain. We can just, it's a plate that I may be able to find it right here, a picture of it. And so that it's that we just simply use to increase the input that's going into your brain. And I'll see if this will load up for us right here. And we got a bunch of different things going on, but so the vibe plate is one of the things that we use. And we start off with, I'm trying to find a picture for the people that are watching this show. It's close enough. We'll try this one right here so that you can see it. This one has some handles on it. But yeah, so this is kind of a picture of it. So there's the vibe plate right there. The vibe plate, we don't have the cage on the top of it. We just have the plate in itself, and we can turn that on and we can get vibration into your feet. And now we can do different movements while you're on the vibe plate to start to fire the neurology that we want to do, that we want to accomplish. So we can use that vibe plate in that manner to get that done. And that's one of the things, that's one of the starting things that we do. And then another starting thing that we do, remember last night on the show, we talked about how we have two different sides of our brain, and there's two different affinities. So the right side of the brain has an affinity for the color green. And so we use these simple little glasses right here, and we put these, they're just green shades. So we put the color green onto the eyes, and that green color, the right side of the brain has an affinity for green. So we can use the green glasses to try to charge up the right side of the brain. And if we want to get that pattern going like we like, up and to the right, over to the left, now we can put you in green glasses, and then we can put you on the vibe plate. And you can go through those same exercises and just by using the green glasses. Now, if we're trying to get the left brain to work, and it's not as common, we don't use the red glasses near as much. But if we're trying to get the stimulation into that left side of the brain, and we can get more specific on whether or not we want to wear these glasses for things like one time I had a child that was having seizures, and there was some tics that were going on and some different things like that. And that's back before I actually got into functional neurology. And I called my friend in South Florida who runs Condi Center for Chiropractic Neurology. And I talked to him about the patient, and I actually filmed the patient and sent him down there to John and Dr. Condi. And he said, hey, red glasses will be great for that. And so what we try to do is try to get that child in red sunglasses for a couple of hours a day, get them so that they could start to stimulate the brain in a certain manner right there. So I got these red glasses. You guys can't see it on the radio, but the red glasses are to stimulate the left hemisphere of the brain. That's what we're trying to do with the red glasses. So what would be going on in a person that would have that? Well, if they're one of the things that's a big deal that we talk about lots of times, and I know you guys have this same problem with your kiddos, is attention deficit disorder. And so we've kind of touched on it a few times about the right side of the brain dealing with the 4 levels of attention that gives us global attention. We talked about that a little bit last night. And then the left side of the brain is that where you get that focused attention. And I thought we kind of touched on it during chapter 1, that Dr. McGilchrist did a really cool job of explaining the difference between like how birds actually use, they have an unyoked eye system. Their visual system is not yoked together. Our visual system is yoked together. So when we look over to the left, both eyes go to the left. When we look over to the right, both eyes go to the right. But birds are a little different, that they can actually look in one direction with one eye and another direction with the other eye. And he did a good job of explaining that, I thought, in chapter 1, where he was explaining how what the bird will do with its eyes is it will look for predators with the left eye. And so I'll see if I can draw this. I'm just going to draw a simple little diagram here on the board, and they're looking back at us. So this will be the right side, this will be the left side. Well, the basically a simple pattern, not a specific pattern, but a simple pattern is that the right side of the brain is going to drive the left eye. And so what he talked about last night in the book is how an animal, a bird, will use its left eye to look for threat in the environment. It's checking out what's going on. It's using that left eye to look around and look for a threat. And it actually said that that there's an increased amount of alertness that it goes on when a bird catches something from its left eye. And I'm sure there's some study or something that went along with that about how that works. But the reason that that's happening is because the right side of the brain is looking for the 4 types of attention that's not focused attention. So alertness, vigilance, sustained attention, and there's one more and that's the part that we're looking for on that right side. That's all happening on that right hemisphere of the brain. Now the other side, the left one, is where we get focused attention. And that left side is using that right eye. And that's looking directly right at the food source. So in a bird, and I know you're like, we're not birds. Why are you telling us about birds? But in birds, that's kind of what happens. And in some horses, and even like in horses are going to do that too. They're going to be able to, they're going to look for threat with that right side, the right hemisphere of their brain. And that happens a lot. Well, the visual system in a human being is a little bit different than that. And the visual system in a human being but it still kind of goes off of the same model when we're talking about brain, about which side of the brain has the focused attention. So let's call this the right side, and we're looking at it from the back now, and there's left. Well, we get focused attention over here on the left. But what if you don't have enough left side activity? What if the left side of the brain is not firing the way that it needs to fire? What can we do about that to increase function on that left side? Well, my favorite way to do that is to go by the original pattern of that we talk about so often, is to try to fire the right side first, then work over to the left side. I think that's the proper way that we're supposed to handle our environment. And that's the way that we can get the amount of attention that we need. But you let's say we got a kid that presents in a certain manner based on their exam, and they need some extra stimulation on that left hemisphere. Then that's where I would use I'd use the red glasses, and now I can just put them in an environment that's really stimulating that left side, right? That is also goes along, like we've talked about in the past, is adrenaline on the right and dopamine on the left. Those two things are consistent too. The left hemisphere of the brain is that dopamine-driven pattern. So think about what happens, right? When we're not getting that proper pathway over to the left, what we're losing is focused attention. So what is that person going to be diagnosed with? They're going to be diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. They're going to go to their doctor, and they're going to get diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. And it's like, do they really have attention deficit disorder? Does your child, if you have a child that has attention deficit disorder, the school teachers have been told, hey, this child can't focus on anything, and you've got a child and you know it, and whether you pay attention to it enough or not, or someone tells you about your child, wouldn't you want to know? Wouldn't you want to know that piece of information? Like, I think that's so vital, personally. I really do think that you want to know that information. Like, wait a minute. Are you telling me if my child has attention deficit disorder, are you telling me that my child has a broken brain? That would be the question I would want to know. Am I dealing with a child that has a broken brain? Because that's a totally different issue. If you've got a broken brain, then it doesn't matter if we put you in red glasses or green glasses or whatever, right? Then we may not be able to overcome that. But I really don't believe that that's the case. I don't think that's what's common amongst children. I don't think that I don't know. I don't have any idea what the percentage of it is, what the percentage would be, but I think it's a very low percentage. I mean, I think 95% of the kids that are diagnosed with attention deficit disorder have low left side hemisphere activity. Like it's not firing properly. And it's probably started, it probably goes back to the whole reflexes. If you want to watch a guy that's super awesome, I'm telling you, this guy, I don't know him. I follow him on Instagram, but I don't know his name. I've never met him before, but his name is Dr. Josh Madsen. If you want to go to look at a guy, he's in Waukee, Iowa. And one of these days, I'm going to go to Josh's office and go see what's going on up there. But he's a fellow of the International Board of Functional Neurology. And if you want to follow him, it's Dr. Josh, it's Dr. Josh Madsen, Madsen on Instagram. And you want to see some awesome things that chiropractic can do for kids and what is going on with kids and why kids are dealing with certain things. That's a great website to go to, or an Instagram page to go to, is Dr. Madsen's Instagram page. He's got a lot of that stuff, and he does a fantastic job of explaining, way better than I do. He does a fantastic job of explaining how some of the early primitive reflexes are still stuck in children, and that they have a hard time moving their brain on to the next pattern and going through the stages of development that they need to go through because they're stuck in those reflexive patterns. And so one of those, when we get stuck in those patterns, we don't get this proper firing pattern working right there. And then that's going to cause that left hemisphere to not be able to focus its attention or not be able to inhibit the right hemisphere from distracting it. That's another option that could be going on, is that once it starts, now we can't get back over and tell the right hemisphere to leave me alone, because I can sit here and look right at the camera and I can still see everything that's going on in the room. There's a car going down the street right now. I just saw the headlights right there. And what I'm seeing with the camera is focusing on that one spot with my left hemisphere, but I'm seeing this entire room going on. I can see my hands move on the TV screen, or the computer screen over here, and I can see my environment around me. Well, my left hemisphere has got to be able to tell my right hemisphere to hush, like, shh. I don't need to know. I don't need to be distracted. I don't need to turn my head and look over there and then turn my head and look over here. I don't need to be distracted over and over and over again with everything that's going on in the room. I'm trying to focus on the one thing. But that comes along on that left hemisphere. So that's something that we can do. One of the things that we can do is we can use these glasses, the red ones and the green ones. Another thing that I think is cool that we use in the office are these laser glasses. And there are multiple uses for these laser glasses, but they actually are pretty cool. So I know on the radio they don't look near as cool as they do on Facebook. But what these laser glasses are is there is a red laser. It's a pair of dark glasses, and there's a red laser that's right in the middle, right there. And so now what I can do is I can actually see where my head is in space. So we've got some targets drawn on the wall. We've got one that kind of looks like a butterfly that's got some X's and O's in it, and it comes from the motion guidance system. I'm going to show you that here in just a second with the lasers that we can use. But we also have a kind of a maze-looking target that's on the wall. And what we're able to do with that is now we can set these on you, and I know it's like, I don't even know if you can see that red dot that's coming at you. That's right here in the middle of these glasses. But what I see is where that laser pointer is hitting the wall. And now I can trace patterns on the wall in certain ways, and I can do it by moving my head, and I can try to put, like if I was going to try to outline the camera, or if I was going to try to outline the window that's in front of me, I can use that and I can outline it. Can I keep it right on the line, right? Do I have head control? Can I start that? And I can just get them to move their head in a certain direction. So we can have them go up and to the right, and we can have them go up and to the left. And now we can get them to move. Another thing we can do is we can have them go as far as they can to the right and then come back and hit the dot. And then we can have them go as far as they can, and we can have them come back and hit the dot in the target in the middle. And then we have them close their eyes inside the glasses, close their eyes, turn their head, bring it back in the middle, and see if they hit the same spot or if they missed that spot. And that's super cool with these glasses, and it's fun to use. It's fun to do this. They look cool, obviously, and it's lots of fun for the patient because they now have an active process in the way in rehabbing their brain or getting their brain to work. So they're following it. They're following the laser with their eyes, and that is parietal lobe function. That's the upper part of the brain in the back. When you follow something that's moving, kind of like following a bird that's going across the sky, like or there's like a fly that's flying around in the room, and I can kind of follow it with my eyes. That movement is a parietal lobe function. So I can use the glasses to work on the neurology without even explaining what's going on with them. Like they can feel that the difference from one side to the next, and they can get in there. They can get in there really have a good time with that right there. So we're going to take a break, and then we'll be right back right after these messages with Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. Yeah, so I'm going to get me a little drink right here. I got to get to some of the conversations that we had this morning, because we had some cool conversations, and I got to bring up Jeremiah Johnson at some point in the show. So I'll wait till we get back, because that was some of the conversation that we had this morning. Zay was in here, was working out with us this morning, and he was doing some sort of conversation. I don't even remember what we were talking about. And the wilderness or something, like there's not any place to go to just get out in the wilderness anymore. And he said, there's no place for Jeremiah Johnson. And I just busted out laughing. And I told him, I said, we're going to have to talk about Jeremiah Johnson on the show tonight. And so he was laughing and thought that was funny too. But no, that was a, I know Debbie may be watching the show, and I don't know if Zay's watching the show or not tonight, but it was a funny moment that we had this morning when we were talking about that. It's really cool. The workout stuff that we do is we get good workouts, and we get good cardiovascular work and good muscle work and all that stuff that we do. But we also at the same time have great relationships with the people that work out at the Rock. And there's a lot of value that's created, I think, in not just the actual physical workout, but also the relationships that we build. Because it gives me a better opportunity to learn what's going on in your life, and that's not common. I don't think there's not a lot of doctors that actually are their personal trainers for their patients. And I think if they are, they're probably in chiropractic somewhere. I know my good friends in Roswell do that same thing. MJ and KT, they work out with their patients at their CrossFit gym, and they got a great community going right there. But they get to know the person not just from a chiropractic standpoint, but from a competitive standpoint, and you get to know all the ins and outs of people's lives when you work out with them and are doing those same type of things. So it helps you to understand what's going on in their life, and sometimes that really becomes valuable, because when you get that opportunity, then it works out pretty good. It carries over to the chiropractic table when you're able to do that, and I'm super lucky that we get to do that. So, but a lot of it is just a lot of fun too. So we cut up and have a good time as well. Let me get back to the show. Hey, everybody, we're back. This is Jason Clemmons. This is Life with Jason Clemmons, DC. And we are breaking down the equipment that we use in the room. And we're breaking down the right brain and the left brain and how we use some of the stuff to fire. So let's get to the motion guidance. And these little lasers right here. And this is another set of lasers that we use. And this little laser is a handheld laser, and I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can see it on the wall behind me. But this handheld laser, now I can incorporate. There's a part of your brain that maps out your body, right? And the way that your body functions. And sometimes your brain and your body lose themselves in the coordination of the way that they move. The toes are a big deal when it comes to that. The way that you actually move the toe joint. Sometimes we can work on that feeling that's in the toe joint, and people can't. I can hold the toe and I can move it up or I can move it down, and the patient doesn't know which way that's moving. And it's like, that's not a good thing. If your brain doesn't know where your toe is in space, how's it supposed to control your foot, and how's it supposed to control balance like you want it to? And so it doesn't. And so there's a portion of the brain that maps out movement, like and body mapping all the way around on both sides. And remember, I think we've talked about this in the past. The right hemisphere maps both sides of the body, and the left hemisphere only maps the right side. So if you guys have ever known anybody that's had a stroke, one of the things that happens, if they have a stroke in the left hemisphere of their brain, they will still be able to use the right side of their body, because the right side of their body is getting mapped out by the right hemisphere as well. The right hemisphere maps out the left and the right side of the body. But if you have a stroke in the right hemisphere, you may lose the left side altogether, because the left hemisphere only maps out the right side. So this, not from a stroke standpoint, but just a rehab standpoint or a brain standpoint, sometimes the body loses itself. So we can actually take this laser here, that's a handheld laser, and now we can go through. We've actually got some straps. We can put it on your head. We can put it on your leg. We can put it on your knee. We can get your leg. If we're trying to get hip movement going, we can put the strap around your knee or your ankle, and then we can have you go through a series of movements where you can see that. I don't know if it's, yeah, you can see that laser just a little bit right there. Or we can have you do it with your hand. Or if I'm trying to work with a certain part of your brain, like if I'm trying to I can use your left hand, and then I can have you write your name on the wall with your left hand using the laser. And you're watching the laser, so now you're getting your eyes involved in the whole thing, as opposed to just writing your name with your left hand in space. So if you're trying to write your name with your left hand, anything that we can do with this left hand is activating this right hemisphere. So we can do things that we don't normally do, like we can do waves, or we can do figure eights with this hand, or we can do finger movement. That's a really good thing you can do just sitting around by yourself. You can move finger movement, and then you want to mix it up. So you might want to just start index finger, just go one all the way through, and then go back and go index finger, middle finger, index finger, ring finger, index finger, little finger, and move that across. And then maybe do two of them and move them across like that. So activation, moving your fingers, is a really big deal with the way that your brain is activating. That's one of the things that's so weird that what we're doing with these phones is we're kind of reprogramming the way that our brain is functioning, because we really haven't used this thumb like this before. Like this whole thing where now we're completely communicating with our thumbs. We're holding. We're not really moving our fingers, and we're using the phone we're using our thumbs to drive the numbers on the phone or navigate ourselves through the phone. That's a remapping that we're doing with our brains that we really have never done before. I mean, because really what the thumb, this movement right here, is something that human beings could do that I don't know if there's any other animals that could do that. This is what makes us really different, is to be able to touch those little fingers, touch your little finger to your thumb, because this now we can grasp. We have this thumb function so that we can grasp things. And one of the things that we talked about a little bit last night is how the left hemisphere of the brain is about grasping things, and it runs the right hand. That's why most of us are right-handed. And if you watch a little kid, they're so cool to watch, and I think I've mentioned this before, but if you watch a little child, like a youngster, like a couple months old, 4, 5, 6, 7 months old, a little guy, right? And I walk up to him, and I've got a pen in my hand, and the mom's holding the baby, and I just reach that pen out to the baby. The first reaction that the baby's going to do is they're going to back up away from me. They're like going to turn, and they're going to move away. Why is that? Well, that's the case because when I took this pen at them, they were processing that information in their right hemisphere, which was the threat side. So they weren't exactly sure what this was. What is this pen that I have in my hand? They don't know what a pen is. They're 5 months old, right? They don't know what it is. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to back up. But I'll just hold it there, and I'll just talk to them, and I'll just say, hey, look, it's just a pen. You're all right. And I'll tell them, and I'll show it to them. And I said, it's okay. You can hold it. And then what they will do is almost inevitably, sometimes in the beginning they grasp with both hands, but most of the time, if you got them squared up in front of you, they reach out with their right hand. And when that happens, I know that what has happened neurologically is it's transferred out of the right brain from being a threat and into the right brain, where now we want to get a hold of things. We want to build things. We want to build tools. We want to grasp things. And once they get past that fear part and you let them know that it's okay to touch it, they'll grab it out. They'll use that right hand to grab it with. So the laser helps us in working certain patterns by moving our arms and going through those patterns in certain ways. And then we can take that, like I can put it in this left hand, I can turn the laser on, and I can go trace an entire maze or anything with my left hand. And then while I'm doing that, I'm activating that right hemisphere. Now it's even more cool if I put you on the vibe plate, turn the vibe plate on, and now we've got vibration going in your feet, and now you're going through that whole thing and moving that around. Or we can get even more, and we can start adding, we start layering the way that we add these in. So now I take this and I put these green glasses on, and now I turn my laser on with my left hand, and now I trace things with my left hand. And this is something you can do at home. Like you can get you a pen light and work a laser, and you can work that left hand. You can trace things, move your shoulder, make your shoulder move, but you got your green glasses on. And in our office now, you might be doing this same exact thing, holding that, tracing something while you're standing on a vibe plate. And that would be another thing that is really cool to do, is to use the green glasses. We also, I meant to go grab one right before we started the show, and I didn't have a chance to get in there. But we also use, there's some green balls that we have, just this like dodgeballs that we have in the gym that we use with the green glasses. And we use, because why did I pick green? Why did I could have got blue or black or any color, yellow balls. What difference does it make that I got green? I got green because your right hemisphere has an affinity for green. So we got those green balls, and we can get in there and we could use that. And a lot of times what I use the ball for is that rhythmical catch. And that rhythmical catch, there it is. I knew I had one on my desk. That rhythmical catch is the one of the ways that we can create a bottom-up approach to the trauma or the stress that people have, right? That when we have that post-traumatic stress problem, when we're stuck in that right hemisphere on the right side and we can't get out of it, then we can use the green ball to just play catch with. The green ball, because my right brain likes it, and the rhythmical catch is what I would do as I'm going back to some of that bottom-up approach. So that's one of the things that we do. Another thing that Brooke has brought to the office that I think is super cool because of her experience out of Rosti is just these simple bands that you guys probably have these at home. We buy them in rolls, and you can just take them to whatever length that you need them, and then you can cut them off. And now Brooke could take you through there's all kinds of resistance stuff that you can do with these bands to work on shoulders. One of the things that we use the most, that we use, I don't know, it's every week and almost every single day, is external rotation and of some sort to try to fire. What we want to try to do is we want to try to fire externally and use external rotation in some form or fashion to get that shoulder to fire those muscles on the backside of the shoulder. One of the problems that we face a lot is because we're not getting that enough firing pattern into that upper brain, is we get really tight pecs. Everything starts to come forward. You get in this hunched position. You get forward head posture. You get internal rotation of the shoulders. And because of that, it changes the dynamic of the shoulder to where now you injure your shoulder and you start creating a lot of problems. So the bands are super cool because we can cut them, whatever. And you guys have these. It's not like they're something new, but we can activate those different parts of the shoulder. Maybe we need to activate the knee. Maybe we need to activate the hip. We've got the iron neck in the office, and I didn't go get the iron neck, but for you guys, you can Google that if you want to. The iron neck is super cool for strengthening the neck. Let me see. I might be able to find a picture of it for you guys, but we don't necessarily use the bands for we might be able to see these. I don't know if I can get them pulled up exactly right, but we don't use the bands for the neck quite as much because we have the iron neck. And I'll just show it to you and see if you might be able to see it a little bit right there. Yeah, that's okay. But this is an iron neck, and it fits. It's like a little halo that fits on top of your head, and it rotates all the way around. And so you can tie it on to one spot, and then you can move yourself into lots of different positions. You can kind of see the different places that they have in the picture right here, and that can create neck strengthening. And so we don't quite use the bands for the neck because we have the iron neck, but you can. If you didn't have an iron neck, you could use the bands to help strengthen your neck. One of the biggest problems, especially in young athletes, one of the biggest problems that they have on concussions is a weak neck muscles. Not being able to hold the head in place and it all flops around and then the brain flops around inside the skull is a big problem when it comes to concussions. So the iron neck is a cool thing that we can use in the office as well. And then another piece of equipment that we have that we're just kind of getting started with, but it's really awesome, and they're called fit lights. And this one's not lit up because it's not connected to the system, but these little disc-like lights, they're called fit lights, and they will actually light up. And then what you do is you slap them to turn them off. So if you need to, what we can do is we can set these up in sequence. So we've got, I don't know, there's 6 or 8 or 10 fit lights that we've got in there. 10 or 12, I don't know how many there are, but so you can actually set them up in sequence, and you can set particular programs that you use on them. And so they'll light up in different patterns. And if you want to go to fit light, you can go look at that for athletes and stuff. You can go look at that. Lots of NFL guys, lots of NBA guys, lots of Major League Baseball players use fit lights. And so they will light up in a certain sequence. So now you've got the person working, you got the fit lights laying out on the table or on the floor, and then you say go, and then the fit lights light up, and they have to move their feet and slap the light and then move back to where they were. Or maybe they just have to find the next light. And it's all reaction time. Get there, hit the light, get it back, hit the next light, get it back, hit the next light, get it back. The fit lights are a lot of fun. And they're great for your brain, and they're great for working on getting the brain back online. One of the questions when I was speaking to the ladies this morning at the club, at the Lubbock Women's Club, one of the questions that they asked me was, what about dementia, like Alzheimer's and dementia? What can you do to help with that? And so, it's when you're talking to young people, it's hard for them to understand about that. It's hard for young people to pay attention to that because they don't have the problem. But you get down the road, and now you start to forget things, and then that becomes a problem, right? So one of the things that we were talking about is exercise and firing the brain, and exactly how that happens. And by the way, I'll tell this story because I don't know if I've told this on the show or not. Your memory starts in your right hemisphere. Losing your memory is a lack of right hemisphere activation first. Your left hemisphere is what says what you're trying to say. And that tip of the tongue phenomenon, Dr. Gilchrist gets into this too. The tip of the tongue phenomenon is when you're just like, I can't remember. We did it this morning in our staff meeting. We were trying to remember the name of a car dealership here in Lubbock that sold, and now it's a different name. And we were trying to remember what was the name of that place. And none of us could remember what it was. And the harder you try to remember, the more your left hemisphere is activated, the less you're actually going to remember. Because you need the right hemisphere is very wise and patient. So the right hemisphere will just sit there and it'll just listen and it'll wait for your left hemisphere to calm down before it tells you the name of the dealership. The left hemisphere, on the other hand, is trying so hard because the left hemisphere is cocky and arrogant and thinks it knows everything and wants to be in charge of everything and needs to have a grasp on things, right? And so that left hemisphere is like, no, I got it. And the right hemisphere will just sit there and just wait. And then you'll just relax. You'll relax and you'll forget about it and you're like, all right, I can't remember anyway. And then as soon as you relax, it's like, boom, Alderson. That's Alderson Cadillac. They were here from Lubbock for, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, 100 years. I don't know how long they were here. They were here a long time. And they've only been gone a couple of years, and I couldn't remember Alderson Cadillac, which was another great lesson that we learned today because I thought, how funny is that? They were here for 60 years, and they were like the Cadillac store in Lubbock, and then all of a sudden they changed to Cavender's or something, and Alderson's gone, and it didn't take 2 years, and I couldn't even remember their name. Like they've been here for forever, and then you just fade away. So sometimes we think we're way more important than we actually are, and that's another aside right there. But that's the way memory works in your brain. As soon as you stop trying to remember so hard, then your right side will send that information over to your left. So what can we do with things like fit lights and the brain? Well, we can use the fit lights to in a pattern to try to get the brain to start to remember things. We can also use the fit lights with our whiteboard that we have that has numbers and letters on it. So we've got some little magnetic numbers. I couldn't bring those in here, but we got some little magnetic numbers and some magnetic letters, and it's like 1 through 26 or whatever it is, and then the alphabet all the way through. And so we can put those numbers up there, and then we can call out. We can have the patient close their eyes and say, hey, all right, what I want you to do is find 1 through 15 as quickly as you can. And the little round magnets with the numbers on them are up on the whiteboard, and they're mixed up all over the place. And so you have to, all of a sudden, you have to look and find there's 1, there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, there's 5, and you have to move around your eyes and you have to find them and search for them. And then we can add in letters. So like it's find 1 and A and 2 and B and 3 and C and find them in that order. And what we've also done with the fit lights is now we put the fit lights on the board next to it. So now we want you to find the numbers 1 through 20. And as you're trying to find the numbers, now you got to see the light up. And when the light lights up, now you have to hit the light. You have to slap the light because when it lights up, you got to slap it to turn it off. And so now you got to hit the light to make it turn off, and you got to keep going with the number sequence. And it's really cool that way. And so what is actually happening to us when that light is, we're focusing on the number sequence, which is a focusing pattern, which is a left hemisphere issue. We're focusing on the number sequence, and then we have to watch out of our peripheral vision. We have to watch with our right hemisphere using our peripheral vision to when that light lights up, and then we have to reach and hit the light. And so that's really, really good brain stuff. We use it in conjunction with the Reflex app for people who have actually had concussions. So a concussion protocol is, there's some things that you can do in a concussion protocol, but one of the things that we do once we're getting the rehab stuff done is to use that board where we have the numbers and the letters on the magnets together, and we do that with the fit lights as well, and we get all that put in there together. We got this one of these little straps. We actually use this strap sometimes for balance. So if we got a patient that is trying to move back and forth off of the board, obviously you guys have seen these straps before. I just grabbed them. It was over there, and I thought this was an extra thing that we could show you that we use in the office. So if you have a trouble with balance and you're worried, I don't know if I'm going to be able to step up on a vibe plate. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the things that you're asking me to do. Then we could put one of these straps on you and hold you and secure you so that you don't fall. And then the other thing I use the strap for is when I'm working on shoulders and elbows, and sometimes I need a little extra leverage, I can use the strap to kind of work on it in certain ways. It's kind of hard to show you by myself sitting here, but that's another thing that we can use in the office. So those are the big handheld. That's the majority of the handheld things that we use on a daily basis. The other big things we use, we've got rowing machines, we've got exercise bikes, and you guys have seen the other stuff on the show as well. We've talked about balance plates, we've talked about right eye systems, we've talked about some of the other things, and then we've got the Ultra G back in the back. And I hope to do a show all together now that we've got this new setup and we've got the microphone that has the capability of moving. I really want to get us set up back there and let you see the Ultra G and see exactly what it does, because I really think it's a fabulous tool for people who are challenged walking. You can get on that Ultra G. We can take some of your body weight off of you. It takes up to 80% of your body weight off you. We very seldom use 80%, but a lot of times we'll use 30% and get 30% of your weight off of you. And you're in a very secure environment so that you're not going to fall. So if you're getting older and you worry about falling and you worry about balance and you don't want to go for a walk because you're worried about balance, then you can come use the Ultra G and you can solve that problem for yourself. So thanks for your patience tonight. I apologize for being a little flustered at the beginning, but I hope you guys got something out of this. If there's anything we could do to help you, send us a text, 806-794-0400. I'd be glad to try to help you out or visit with you about any of the things that we do here in the office. And I really hope that you're getting something out of this. So hope you guys had a fantastic day. I hope you have a great Friday. It's supposed to be cold again in Lubbock, and we're going to be back tomorrow night at 6. So hope you guys will come back and spend the evening with us. Other than that, that's all I got for this evening. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.